Hello. Well, I'm in Central Park again, and this is the lake. The boathouse is right here. There are the boats. I thought about renting the boat for $25 an hour and rowing around and shooting a video on the boat with the camera on one seat and me on the other seat. But then I thought, well, then I'd have to be out in the sun. I don't like to be out in the sun because I'm a pale, young, older gentleman. So today's book is The Big Laugh by John O'Hara. People who watch my videos might have seen me buy this book, which was at the Strand bookstore on the outside for $3. And I thought, well, I never read John O'Hara, Hollywood story, you know, what the hell? So I thought I'd give it a go, and I quite enjoyed it. It was a very brisk kind of read. It runs about 300 pages, and it's a story of a Hollywood movie star and his origins and how he gets there. And he's a rich boy from New Jersey, kind of like the bad boy of the family, but you know, there's reasons. Like his dad was kind of screwed up. His dad, this happens very early in the book, so it's no spoiler. His dad commits suicide. He has some sort of problems with his business. He's embezzling or something, whatever. He doesn't straighten it out, and while this guy's a kid, his dad blows his brains out. So that's the end of Dad. And Mom's, I don't remember what was going on with Mom. Mom's kind of not that much involved with the story until he brings her out there, out to Hollywood once he becomes a star, because it's about a guy who becomes a star. He, you know, he's sort of this rich boy, but he doesn't really have the money himself. It's going to be inherited or something, so he's kind of at loose ends, very young, and you know, in his 19, 20, and he meets a woman. This starts out in New York City in the East Coast, and he meets a woman at a who's going to somewhere in the summer theater. She's going to be involved in the summer theater, and they're not going to pay the actor. She's an actress. They're not going to pay. It's room and board, and they get to act and experience acting. And the guy who runs the theater is sort of a Broadway guy that's, you know, half in, half out. Not a great, not a really successful Broadway guy who takes the summer up at this theater in this small town somewhere. I'm not. It wasn't really clear where that was, but or else I forgot. At any rate, he decides to go up and get himself in the theater, and he does. He's a charming, beautiful young man, and he thought, well, maybe I'll become an actor. So he starts acting, and he's like good at it, and you know, he kind of just meanders into this thing. And the producer of the show, the director producer, is kind of, you know, goes both ways, as we would say back then. So he's bisexual and inclined to have sex with young men. So they do have, you know, some engagement. This is from 1962, so none of this stuff is particularly explicit, which is a relief. So off to they go back to New York, and he, you know, he's the kid is kind of, you know, he's kind of a hustler, kind of aggressive in a certain way. I mean, he has these kind of aggressive moves he does to even getting involved with this theater company at all. he kind of forces his way into it. But it turns out he's got what it takes to be an actor, and which, as the story goes on, is not particularly a lot of intelligence or really anything else, but kind of looking good and having some sort of charisma that comes across on the stage and ultimately on the screen. So he has this big success on Broadway, and ultimately he's signed to come out to Hollywood, and that's where it all happens for him. And we track along how he becomes. It seems as though this is all kind of in the 30s. Talkies are already going on, so it's no silent era stuff. So it's already in the 30s. There's doves walking around here. Maybe there'll be a dove appear in my little video here. That'd be nice if one walked right along that way. Walk along this way, dove. He becomes a success, and he's attractive, so he's and he has the options of these women to get involved with. O'Hara introduces a couple other characters, a couple other established actresses who more than males, established actresses who they kind of don't really get involved with each other, but everybody is involved with other people, like the two actresses. Ultimately, he meets at a party. He meets a producer, and who's just a producer. He's not doesn't really have he doesn't work for a studio. He has a small studio and doesn't have distribution. So he really kind of relies on making kind of really good pictures that get over, because he doesn't have his own distribution system like way back then. The people would have the theaters, and they'd have like MGM, they'd be the MGM theater chain in all these towns that would have to take the product that MGM made. So ultimately he has something back when he was a kid. He borrowed his uncle's car or someone's car, and a woman stepped out in front of a streetcar and he ran her over. So he has this kind of bad thing in the past, which we're kind of waiting for it to come up and screw up his stardom, but it never does. So and he ends up getting involved with this producer's wife, which causes the producer just one shot at a party, and she uses him to, because she thinks the producer's been sleeping with other women, which he is not really, and so he gets used by this woman, and ultimately the producer gets really drunk and falls off a thing in his house at Malibu and dies. So this is all a shocking event. Ultimately, he marries he goes for a kind of a young woman, a divorcee with a child who is not in the business, who he meets at that party, and so he wants to be kind of respectable. And he does establish himself as a respectable guy, and they have this marriage, and it goes on for a while, and then something happens. I don't know. Should I spoil it or not? I mean, is anybody going to read this thing? Let's go ahead and spoil it and say that what goes on is that he marries this other woman, this woman from Chicago who has money of her own, and she's you know, she's ready to have a regular, you know, decent marriage, and he wants to do that too, and it's all very respectable, and they have a child. But ultimately, back out in Hollywood with him, she gets bored and wants to have the parties with all the scene people and all that stuff go on. So it, as I said, it's a really interesting story. It's told. It's told really kind of in a lot of it in dialogue. I was wondering, like, I think this is right around the time one of his novels, Butterfield 8, was made into a pretty famous, I guess, sort of sexy movie, you know, in whatever 1960 terms, that had Elizabeth Taylor in it, and apparently it was not a very successful movie, but with this one, he really, the style of the book is very much, it's really much kind of like reading a script, or because he doesn't go into the thought business so much, like what the characters are thinking. It's a lot of it is all dialogue, people talking to one another. So, and the dialogue's pretty good. It's as I said, it's a good book, and I'm glad I read it, and I enjoyed it, and I might read, you know, another of O'Hara's books. He was a very big writer in the from the 30s into I guess he died in 1970. So you know, he was a pretty big novelist, sold a lot of copies. From the Terrace was another one of his pieces, is made into a movie, and I don't think I've seen any of these movies, but ultimately he brings up the question of why these people are so respectable and revered. In the course of the story, he does really introduce this question of, like, well, you know, this guy is really not particularly special, but you know, here he's making all this money and ends up in this elite position of the stardom. And that's a very interesting question about our modern society and why we go for what is the result of these amplification systems. I mean, basically movies are amplifications of stage plays, able to broadcast them out with either prints or now with you know, whatever, Wi-Fi, all around the world. So taking a few people and amplifying their voice, all you know, to penetrate so much and give them so much power behind this amplification, and you know, it's weird, you know, that these technologies do this. I mean, I think a lot about technology. I'm a bit of a Luddite in a certain sense, that you know, extreme Luddite in that, you know, is the wheel something that was good, you know? As I dodge the bicycles and cars in the city here, was the microphone good, that had Adolf Hitler be able to speak to all these people in the Nuremberg rally, the Triumph of the Will, all that, you know? So, and you know, this is before a lot of these Hollywood people really started getting into like politics and stuff, like 1962. You know, Ronald Reagan was, I think, still on Death Valley Days on TV. And he was the host of this show, Death Valley Days, this kind of Western anthology series. So that, you know, that's kind of what he was doing while he was sucking up to GE and all these corporations that ultimately helped propel him into becoming president of the United States. So I mean, basically, this guy Hubert in the novel, Hubert Lord, is not unlike Ronald Reagan in that, you know, he was just sort of a, you know, mundane, pretty boy who ends up in this powerful and elite position of stardom in this, and like Reagan, becoming president, you know, governor and then president, and you know, it's Donald Trump too, in his you know, star for and another amplification system of television, a star from you know, 15 years or whatever, The Apprentice, which I never saw, you know, and Celebrity Apprentice and all that. So, and, you know, so people get to know you in this sort of way, like, you know, people who watch these get to know me in a kind of a way that I'm presenting it. But even with these people, they're much more scripted and produced and careful, and everything, you know, the corporation is checking everything out and making sure everything is just right for their presentation of the character that they are standing behind, the realness of them, whatever is behind this character that they are presenting themselves as in television and movies, and how they use that to create stardom and ultimately, you know, this political power and stuff. So I really, you know, thinking about movies, and I've been trying to watch Babylon. I was going to look up the guy's name, the writer and director on, I don't know how to pronounce his name, whatever. So the guy that did Whiplash and La La Land, and neither of which I saw. I watched sort of like 5 minutes of La La Land. I said, I don't want to watch this. So I've been trying to watch this thing Babylon because, you know, I'm kind of interested in early Hollywood, the silent era very much. I loved silent films. And it's just, I don't know, the movies, I have a hard time sitting there watching them these days, watching things. I'm really much happier reading than watching these things unfold on this timeline that goes on a long time. Like Babylon is like, I don't know, 3 hours long or something. And Babylon is just so completely hysterical. I mean, the way it's acted, it's just so fake. Like there's this whole big, in the beginning, there's this big production scene, there's studios outside, everything's kind of chaos, and a big battle scene with extras where they break all these cameras. And I'm like, no, I just don't believe that they were that haphazard in the late 20s, where this is supposed to be right before the sound era. Everybody's screaming, everybody, you know, it's just very unreal, and I just couldn't watch it. I mean, I watched about an hour of it, I guess, and then the last half hour of the half of it that I watched, I was reading negative reviews in IMDb, and that was kind of entertaining to me because other people say, this is just, you know, a piece of crap, which it is. But, you know, it's so much money goes into these things, and I mean, it's just how it's, you know, really horrible. And you know, I guess this was kind of an independent voice of this guy that made this movie, but he didn't really have anything to say. You know, I have some favorite movies, you know, like everyone. And one of my favorite filmmakers was somebody that got very powerful very early on and could make really his own type of movie that were very special and very odd, and that I really love, and that is Charles Chaplin, Charlie, the Little Tramp. City Lights is one of my just favorite movies of this guy who, the tramp on the street who tries to help this blind girl, gets involved with this rich guy who is really lovely, and you're my buddy, when he gets drunk and then wakes up the next morning and kicks him out of the house and says, what's this guy doing here? So, and it's just a beautiful, very personal movie, and he had enough money to do his own movie without having to ask people, oh, could you help me? No, it's like, this is what I got and this is what I'm going to do. And that is personal art. That is more akin to a novel, because it's a novel is very much personal art. When it's in its highest point, if it's not just blatantly commercial in its approach, it is somebody sitting there, typing, writing longhand, whatever they do, to produce these really personal and often very quirky kind of things. And I'm so happy we still have them available. The novel is still being written and still being published, even in book form, up to this day. And it feels like something is dying when even long-form cinema is dying, as we all watch YouTube videos or TikToks or whatever that's short, as our attention span gets smaller and we want to do whatever else. So I guess that's about all I have to say. I do have some, have you seen these people? These are all out-of-work SAG-AFTRA actors that I've hired to be extras in my little video today. So, and yeah, I was going to say about that it seems like the whole big Hollywood thing, like the stardom thing and all that, it might really be kind of imploding now with the strikes, with them not wanting to pay the creators, with AI coming in, and the rise of just spectacle in the movie theaters. And I wonder if this is really the end of something that has been, and I don't know if it's ever going to be the same way as it was with the Hollywood system, as it was with these stars. If stars are still useful in killing one of these bugs that are eating all our plants and so forth, or we're supposed to. A lanternfly was crawling up toward me. I hear that if I could take this somewhere, I'll get a quarter for it, the dead lanternfly, but I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to leave it there. So yeah, I don't know. It's really a pivotal point now with moving picture entertainment, television, all that stuff, and the battle with creators, actors who want to get involved with this. And one of the IMDb things I was reading about Babylon, it was like, why would Brad Pitt get it? Brad Pitt get in something so so crappy, and it's like, Brad Pitt does have a certain amount of power and has produced a lot of films and so forth, or one of the executive producers, however it works. But these people are really not that bright, and basically just kind of hoes. I often, when you see like the Facebook things where where some actor is quoted with a line that he said in the movie, and such and such, da 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 da, Humphrey Bogart, and you know, it wasn't Humphrey Bogart that said that. It was the writer that wrote it, and Humphrey Bogart just repeated it on the screen. So I think there's some women here that want to come up and look at the rock maybe, but I think I'm kind of done anyway, so thanks for watching. The big laugh. Ha 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 ha.